This video is brought to you by viewers like you. This is Nanomiya Yuta, a high school student aiming to compete in the Olympics, and someone who will stop at nothing to complete his goal, no matter how formidable the challenges he may face. A talented skier who wishes to restore honor to his family and father after a fatal mistake cost our nation to lose, gaining both allies and enemies along the way. And in that way, it doesn't sound too far off from your standard, high school sports storyline. Maybe minus the father thing. Except that's actually all a lie. This isn't Nanomiya Yuta, but Nanomiya Nono, Yuta's twin sister. I've read my fair share of sports manga, with varying levels of intensity, but mainly lighthearted in nature. But never one like this that brought out so much vigorous emotion within me. Now let me give you a proper synopsis. Nanomiya Nono was a talented skier from a very young age, who grew up alongside her brother Yuta, whose talents lied more within the arts, and they were living as a happy family. That is until their father's fatal mistake at the Olympics would lead their family to be shamed and ridiculed. After that, their father was never the same. He started getting more aggressive and would relentlessly beat Yuta for not meeting his expectations, while Nono was left to suffer in silence. Because although she had a passion and talent for skiing, being a female, she could never participate in the Olympics, and therefore could never restore her family's honor. In the end, after their father would voluntarily pass away, her brother would soon follow suit in order to allow his sister to fulfill their father's dream that he could never amount to. Very dark, right? The reason I took such a fascination with this series and think an anime adaptation could really revive the story is because a huge part of the plot revolves around the fact that women couldn't compete in the Olympics for skiing, which was true at the time this manga was serialized, from 2007 to 2010. A little ski history for you. Since its creation in 1924, skiing remained a men-only sport within the Olympics, mainly due to the lack of qualified women skiers for the event to be viable. It's not much of a competition if there is no competition. When I mean qualified, there were women skiers flying high and breaking records. I just think the Olympics hadn't quite came to a consensus on what the criteria would be. That was until 2014 Winter Olympics when women's ski jumping was finally included. Oh, I don't think I ever mentioned or actually said the title of the manga. It's called No. Maybe? I've read it so many times, but this is the first time I'm actually saying it out loud. But I'll put it up on the screen. But I always thought, if halfway through the story, what if women were allowed to ski so it would reflect reality? And how much of an interesting development that would make for the story. Because Nono's biggest hurdle is that she's a woman and therefore can't compete in the Olympics. And it's not like the first time an anime would be diverging from its manga counterpart. And throughout the series, people do figure out her real identity while others remain completely in the dark. And it'd be interesting to see how that would progress if the series was prolonged and if she was allowed to compete as a skier. Not to mention, I'm a huge fan of the hidden identity trope. I also enjoyed how realistic and intense the drawings were. To me, it always added to the realism of the events taking place on the page. Not to mention all the breathtaking landscape shots that just imagine them being animated. The art style reminds me a lot of One Ounce, maybe because they're both sports anime, but it was able to maintain the sharpness of the manga within the anime. And if this was ever to be adapted, I would love for it to maintain that more rugged style. There are two scenes, in my opinion, that should be altered if this ever was to get an anime adaptation. The first, relating to the thumbnail of this video, is from a scene of a guy saving our main character from an attempted RAPE scene. It just didn't add anything to the story, because you can still show the severity of something without having to be explicit about it. And it just went on for far too long for my liking. And I think it can be alluded to in the anime rather than actually shown, because the audience can put two and two together, right? Without you having to spell it out for them. And if they can't, maybe that's for the better. Along the same lines as my first point, I was probably far too young when I read this initially, because I went to reread it for this video and didn't realize how much nudity was in it. They probably could have toned that part down. I still enjoyed it nonetheless because I enjoyed the overall premise of the story. And I get fan service, but it didn't even feel fan servicey. It felt just unnecessary and unneeded. I was like, why is this here? The second scene that I want to be altered in the anime would be the ending, which was quite rushed and abrupt. It was this dream sequence where our main character, Nono, performs a jump during practice and exposes herself as being a girl, and everyone's like shocked Pikachu face. But then she wakes up and everything's fine. Then we get a few panels of our main cast preparing for the Olympics, and that's it. So safe to say, it left a lot to be desired. And to give the author, credit, they probably had to cut it short. And it was a more of an open-ended type of ending. There are worse ways it could have ended. Like, I didn't hate the ending, but it did feel a bit lackluster when you consider all the build-up from the entire series. Woo! So that's the end. That's the story. I actually hesitated quite a bit creating this video for a very, very long time. And it might seem like a dumb reason, but when I plan out my content, I tend to create the thumbnail and title right away. And I already knew this was the thumbnail I wanted to use, but it felt very out of place on my channel. And I think I had already decided to make this video back in like 2022, but never could find the right time to actually do it because I don't know, I thought it would disrupt the flow of the thumbnails or something. So if I ever decide to change the thumbnail in the future, you know why. And I also plan to make this a series because I have a lot of manga that I would love to talk about and would love to see get an anime adaptation someday. So leave any recommendations for manga you want me to check out down below. I'd love to see them. And even though I say manga, I don't mean just manga. There's a lot of manga that I've also be really interested in seeing getting some type of animation, especially those that fall under the more isekai genre. I'd be really, really excited to do those. But yeah, that's just another thought out there. And without further ado, thank you so much. I'm Thorn, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.